What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to be looking at the Jungle Cup once again, and the team we're taking a look at today is the exact same team that I looked at in yesterday's video with THIEVUL, Swalot, and Shadow Charizard. Yes, I know it's kind of boring that I'm using the exact same team, but the main reason I wanted to do this is because I kept running with this team, and I gained over 150 ELO, and honestly, yes, it was a lot of thanks to Shadow Charizard and Swalot, but THIEVUL really shined as an incredibly safe lead. I felt like I almost never needed to get out of a lead, and if I did, I had great coverage with Swalot and Charizard in the back. THIEVUL just felt like it set up the team to win in a great situation. Up top, you've got the zeros, and down below, you've got the twos for THIEVUL, and it looks like a very strong Pokemon. Evens in the zeros and a little bit positive in the twos. So without further ado, let's hop into some battles. Into the first match, we've got THIEVUL into Morpeko. So you know how I just said this is a pretty safe Pokemon on the lead. Yeah, unfortunately, this is a dark type. So this is one of the few matchups where having Sucker Punch and Night Slash being both resisted is pretty tricky. I will, however, shield up the Aura Wheel, and then I will farm up to the Play Rough and now bait with a Night Slash, because that means my opponent will have to throw another Aura Wheel, but this Aura Wheel will be resisted, so they're not going to be able to take me out from this range. So now I can go for Night Slash number 2. That actually grabs 2 shields from my opponent, and THIEVUL in a bad matchup has already grabbed 2 shields. So now at this point, I will let the resisted Aura Wheel go. Aura Wheel, even though it is resisted, does pick up the knockout, but guess who can absorb Aura Wheels? No problem. In comes the Swalot, and unfortunately my opponent just cannot get to the back-to-back moves. I know I can live one Aura Wheel, it's going to hurt a lot, but the opponent ends up going for a Seed Bomb, maybe thinking that Seed Bomb would allow them to get to another charge move quicker, but it's not going to allow them to get to another Aura Wheel quicker, just another Seed Bomb. So we are able to connect with the Sludge, pick up the knockout on the Morpeko, and in the back is a Corviknight, so in comes Shadow Charizard, and in the back is a Galarian Moltres, but Galarian Moltres unfortunately will be outpaced from my opponent. So now here comes a Blast Burn that one-shots the Moltres, and if it one-shots a Moltres, you better believe it's one-shotting the Corviknight, so they resign the match, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, we've got THIEVUL into the Credilli. This is another neutral lead, and I'm going to play this out in the exact same way that I played it out in the previous video. I'm just going to go for the Night Slash on the CMP tie, hoping that I get the boost, but unfortunately no boost comes through. But that's okay, because we know we can live a Rock Tomb here, no problem. And Rock Tomb, while it does lower my attack, doesn't put me in a terrible position, but in comes the Guzzlord. Guzzlord now will be met with the Swalot. Swalot, of course, does have super effective Ice Beam here, but one Ice Beam is not enough to knock them out, so my opponent can let this go if they want. Ice Beam connects, that puts them into the red health range after one more Mud Shot, and now we can let another charge move go. I will be able to outpace by one single Mud Shot, making it to the Sludge, and Sludge from this range should be enough to pick up the knockout on the Guzzlord, unless they come with a shield, but no, they're going to let that go. Instead, they're going to come in with a Charizard in the back, go for an energy lead, and then they go for the catch of the Sludge onto their Credilli, but all that does is set up farm for the THIEVUL. THIEVUL gets the full Sucker Punch farm down, and the opponent will now need to throw all that energy that they just gained in order to pick up the knockout on my THIEVUL, and now THIEVUL will put our own Shadow Charizard in a fantastic position because Embers are resisted on mine, whereas the Dragon Breaths are neutral against theirs. So the opponent, yes, they will be able to outpace, and yes, I can commit a shield on the Air Cutters, but I'm just going to look for the full Dragon Breath farm down. Not sure if I'd be able to get it, so I am going to go for the Air Cutter, hoping that I get the boost, because boosting my attack would be huge here, but I don't get a boost, and now this is looking tricky, so I'm going to go for the catch onto the Swalot when they get to the back-to-back Air Cutters, and they end up going for a Blast Burn instead, so that catch was absolutely game-winning, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, we've got THIEVUL into Scizor. This is a neutral lead, but a neutral lead where the opponent actually takes a little bit more damage than we do, even though both of our fast moves are basically identical clones of each other, just different types. And we get to the Night Slash at the exact same time, but Night Slash is resisted on THIEVUL, but neutral on the Scizor. So they have to commit a shield. They do farm up to the Trailblaze and then bait with a Night Slash, and then immediately get bailed out by a Night Slash boost. But fortunately, they do only go for the Night Slash to pick up the knockout on the CMP tie, and I believe that should set up farm for the Shadow Charizard. Charizard, of course, resisting the bullet punches, but because they're boosted, those are doing huge damage. Fortunately, we do get the full resisted Dragon Breath farm down. In the back is an Altaria. Altaria will get outpaced here. I'm at the back-to-back air cutters already. Here comes air cutter number 1. The opponent will end up letting that go. Here comes air cutter number 2. And the opponent, are they willing to commit a shield? No, they're just going to let that go, and now they're going to throw some energy. But I'm going to trust in the Swalot to win me this game because I'm used to seeing water types in the back against the Scizor. I was hoping it was going to be the Lantern so that my mud shots were super effective and that I would have a pacing advantage, but no, instead it is a Furret. So I don't know what my opponent does against something like a Galarian Moltres, but either way, we're up a single turn, which means that we can always outpace by 1 turn because it took them a turn to switch, whereas we got 0 turn switch. So what I'm going to do is not throw right away because I'm anticipating that my opponent is going to go for a catch, and if they do, I'm just going to over farm. They end up going for it, so now all I have to do is farm up to the back-to-back sludges, and now because they are 1 off the Swift, I can go for the sludge to pick up the knockout on the Altaria, and here comes a second sludge to pick up the knockout on the Furret. But no, the opponent lives on 1 HP, surviving the sludge. Their IVs coming in clutch, able to make it to the Swift, knock out my Swalot, and unfortunately, even though we did play that perfectly, the opponent will win that game. Into next match, picking up another neutral lead. We've got THIEVUL into the Quagsire. They end up safe switching into a Fortress, and at first I was concerned because a Bug Bite Fortress would be very tricky for the THIEVUL, but no, it's a Volt Switch Fortress. So I'm glad I stayed in this matchup because both Charizard and Swalot don't really want to see the Volt Switch Fortress, especially with the Dragon Breath Charizard, so I will just end up staying in this matchup, going for the Night Slash right before they make it to Rock Tomb number 2. Night Slash picks up the knockout, back in comes the Quagsire, but I am 1 times debuffed by the Rock Tomb, so this Night Slash is not going to do that much damage, so my opponent knows they can't just let that go, but if they go for the full farm down, I'm going to make it to yet another Night Slash. Night Slash number 2 does put them into the yellow health range, and now I can just come in with my Swalot and absorb this energy, because yes, while Mud Shots are super effective, Aqua Tail and Stone Edge are only neutral, and this is the non-Shadow Quagsire on a very bulky Swalot, so I'm not very concerned about any of the charge moves here. I will just let them dump their energy. In the back is a Shadow Scizor, so my opponent was ABB Bug Steel, but fortunately we had the alignment that we need, so they resign the match, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, guess what? Another neutral lead. We've got THIEVUL into the Dunsparce. The opponent will go for good timing, which does allow me to outpace, making it to the Night Slash. This will do some okay chip, not enough to put them into the yellow health range, but 1 more Sucker Punch does the job. They can now connect with a Drill Run, but we should be able to outpace, make it to Night Slash number 2 before they make it to Drill Run number 2, and this puts us in a pretty good position because they will put them into the red health range, and you already guessed it. We're going to let this go and set up farm for one of our Pokemon in the back, but unfortunately, Drill Run actually doesn't KO. We get the simultaneous KO of the THIEVUL on the Dunsparce, and now it's a 50-50 guessing game who gets the alignment that they want. I come in with the Swalot, and they come in with a Gyarados, and Gyarados is just pretty much bad for my backline in general, but honestly, this is where I'd rather see it, because Gyarados typically wins CMP against the Charizard, and you know, they have super effective Aqua Tails coming every 9 turns, so that's not really a place you want to be on the Charizard. That said, they will outpace me to back-to-back moves, but I think I can hang on to an Aqua Tail from this range, so I will let it go. We barely hang on, able to make it to Sludge number 2. Is the opponent willing to commit 2 shields in this matchup? No, they are not, so now in comes the Shadow Charizard, looking for the full Dragon Breath farm down. We can't quite get it before they make it to an Aqua Tail, but I can just shield this up, look for the full farm down, and then pick up the knockout on whatever's in the back, but it is a Clodsire. So Clodsire, of course, is extremely bulky and can survive a Shadow Blast Burn from a Charizard, but they will end up committing the shield on the first. Now I just have to hope that I can Dragon Breath them down into a range where another Blast Burn will be enough to pick up the knockout. So here comes Blast Burn number 2. Is this enough without the Air Cutter boost to pick up the knockout on the Clodsire? No, it is not. So I'm going to have to go for a catch right before I make it to the Air Cutter. The opponent goes for it, which is a absolutely huge game-winning catch because now they are energy dry. In comes the Gyarados, only to get Dragon Breath farm down. We come out with an Air Cutter loaded. The opponent resigns the match, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, you guessed it, another neutral lead. THIEVUL into a Abomasnow. The only issue with this matchup here is they have 5-4 pacing as opposed to our 5-5 pacing, so they will outpace us on the second. So what you'll likely see me do is go for Night Slash number 1, but then go for a catch when one turn before I make it to Night Slash number 2 when they get to their second Weather Ball. So here it comes, catching onto my Swalot, and now that puts us both on the 5 cycle, so that means I can get to a Sludge when they get to a Weather Ball, but the opponent is having absolutely none of that. They end up coming in with a Gastrodon, but Gastrodon will get outpaced here. We make it to the Ice Beam, and Ice Beam does some pretty solid chip to the Gastrodon, but it's not enough to pick up the knockout, and we can't even get to a second Ice Beam, so I'm forced to settle just for a Sludge. This is resisted damage, but I'll do some okay chip, putting the opponent actually into the red health range. Now, if they just go for a Body Slam here, I actually will hang on, and even though they're out their back-to-back moves, because I get that Sucker Punch through, I can click the move, win CMP, go for the Night Slash, and Night Slash from this range will be enough to pick up the knockout on the Gastrodon. Now in comes the Shadow Charizard. In the back is a Stunfisk, and this is a very tricky Pokemon for me to beat with a low HP THIEVUL and a Charizard. Even though we're up energy and shields, they're gonna outpace me. These Thunder Shocks are doing so much damage. I have to commit the shield on both of these, and then I have to watch for the catch, because if the opponent gets the catch, this game is instantly over. So I will just continually overfarm here. The opponent ends up going for the catch. I'm going to farm up to back-to-back Air Cutters, or just a little bit past it, so that I can make it to an Air Cutter plus a Blast Burn. Air Cutter picks up the knockout, and now we have the Blast Burn coming out of that matchup. Blast Burn is neutral damage. It picks the knockout on the Stunfisk, and we get the perfect overfarm to take that win. Into the next match, we've got THIEVUL into Stunfisk. We've just seen this matchup, but we saw it on the back, and now we're seeing it on the lead, but pretty similar to our last matchup in the sense that we pace pretty similarly to the first, but they outpace by one single Thunder Shock versus my Sucker Punches to the second. So I could either go for a catch, or I can stay in this matchup, because in this matchup I know I can survive 2 Mud Bombs, so I can just play it out, let the second Mud Bomb go through, and then connect with a Play Rough on the CMP tie to win switch, or I can go for the Night Slash on the CMP tie to set up a farm down for either of my Pokemon in the back, because Stunfisk is usually paired with things like Golisopod or a Flyer in the back, so I'm thinking if I go for a Night Slash and then get a Mud Shot farm down with the Swalot, I should be in a pretty good position. So now it kind of depends what my Pokemon has in the back. They're going to come in with, what's it going to be? It's going to be a Togekiss. So if Togekiss is your best answer to a Swalot up energy, something is clearly wrong. But now I will be able to outpace, make it to the Sludge. That ends up grabbing a shield from my opponent. But here comes Sludge number 2. This is super effective damage. It won't be enough to one-shot the Togekiss, but it will do big damage. It puts them deep into the yellow health range. Unfortunately, I have no fast move pressure on my back Pokemon there with Charizard, but I just need to force shields with my Swalot, because if I can do that, or force energy, sorry, with my Swalot, because if I can do that, I can outpace the Togekiss to an Air Cutter. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to let both charge moves go. They have a Charizard of their own in the back, but their Charizard is on Ember, which means we're able to outpace, we're not able to outpace, but we're able to do more fast move damage, whereas theirs is resisted. And I think they're only going to get it to 1 charge move here, so I will just shield this up. Actually, they might get to 2. Yeah, I think they're already at the back-to-back, but that's okay. I can shield up both these charge moves, come out with a little bit of residual energy, and as long as I'm just a little bit over 1 Air Cutter, I will be able to outpace the opponent, because they were pretty much energy dry. So here comes Air Cutter number 1. Air Cutter number 1 does grab the shield, and now it's a race to the charge move, but Charizard does win that race, making it to Air Cutter number 2, and Air Cutter number 2 picks up the knockout on the Togekiss, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, we've got THIEVUL into Scizor. So we've seen this matchup before, gonna play it out the exact same way. Hopefully this opponent doesn't bait with a Night Slash and get another Night Slash boost. That would be absolutely crazy. So just going to go for the Night Slash here. Night Slash ends up grabbing a shield from my opponent. This one does once again farm up to the Trailblaze, so I will respect it. But it is actually the Trailblaze this time. So what you're going to notice is you can actually go for the full Sucker Punch farm down, come out with a charge move loaded as well into the Lantern that comes in the back. So Scizor Lantern, this actually is already looking like my team that I showcased on this channel. But that does some okay chip, and we have the alignment that we need. Having Swalot on the Lantern versus our Charizard is absolutely huge, because these Mud Shots, they're super effective damage. They will eventually start adding up, and these Sludges come pretty quick, a lot quicker than the opponent can get to their Surf. So we're looking to be in a pretty good position. Surf number 1, not even enough to 2-shot, so we'll overfarm in this matchup. Now going for Sludge number 2. Will the opponent let this go and run with whatever is in the back? Yes, they will. It is an Altaria in the back, so in comes the Shadow Charizard. Shadow Charizard, able to make it to the air cutter before the opponent gets to their move. And all I need is to either grab a shield or put them into a range where 2 sludges will knock out. And I think this is a range where 2 sludges will knock out. The opponent throws pretty much instantly, so I will just let this go. They didn't overfarm by much. Now all I have to do is make it to 2 sludges before they're able to make it to 2 sky attacks. They are throwing energy. Are they at the back-to-back? I don't think so. I'm pretty sure we should be able to outpace here. So here comes sludge number 1, and then it comes down to who wins CMP in this matchup if they have a charge move, but the opponent does not have a charge move. We see the Dragon Breath go through. Here comes another sludge, and sludge is enough to pick up the knockout on the Altaria, and we are able to take that win. Tough opponent in the next match, LNDS, but also playing Shadow Scizor on the lead. So just going to go and play out this matchup the exact same way, going for the Night Slash instantly and hoping the opponent goes for the Trailblaze. And if they don't, if they go for the Night Slash base, there's another way we can play out this matchup. This one farms up to the back-to-back Night Slashes, so I will just let this go, hoping it is just the Night Slash bait, and it is, which means we hold on. We're able to make it to Night Slash number 2, so the opponent instead is going to bank that Night Slash for later and catch onto the Clodsire. But all that does is set up a good switch advantage for the Swalot here, with super effective Mud Shots and super effective Ice Beams, able to outpace the opponent to the Earthquake. The opponent now will throw the Earthquake, which is super effective damage, but once again, not enough to pick up the knockout. And unfortunately, the opponent will be able to make it to a Stone Edge before I make it to an Ice Beam number 2, so I will just settle for the Sludge on the CMP tie, knowing that this will chip them into the red health range, and they will have completely wasted all of their energy in order to pick up the knockout. And what this should do is set up farm for the Charizard. So in comes the Charizard. In the back is a Shadow Altaria. Very cool pick from my opponent, but unfortunately for the opponent, Shadow Altaria takes way more damage from the Air Cutter, and we get the boost, which means we can fully Dragon Breath farm them down after connecting with 1 stab Air Cutter, which is absolutely insane considering Air Cutter is such a bad move, but it really isn't that bad on a Shadow Charizard, where it gets stab and shadow bonus. What does the opponent want to do? They're going to come in with their Scizor. I'm going to look for the full Dragon Breath farm down, even though it is resisted, and come out absolutely loaded with energy because the opponent has absolutely nothing they can do. They actually get the 2 times boost of the Night Slash. Back in comes the Clodsire, but Clodsire will be met with back-to-back Air Cutters. Here comes Air Cutter number 1, actually grabbing a shield from my opponent. Here comes Air Cutter number 2, and from this range, it will easily be enough to knock out the Clodsire, and we are able to take that win. Into the next match, we've got Furret on the lead. So this is actually a good lead because Sucker Punches are resisted, and we do win CMP against them if they go for the Swift right away. And it actually looks like the opponent did, because I did not see a Sucker Punch go through. So here comes a Night Slash. The opponent is going to let that go. I'm of course going to let the Swift go because both of our charge moves are stab, but my fast move is neutral, whereas theirs is resisted, and I win CMP. The opponent ends up safe switching into a Lantern, only to be met with the Swalot. So here comes a neutral Sludge, and you're going to notice that 2 neutral Sludges plus the Mud Shots are basically enough to knock out the Lantern, and even if they're not, I'm saving shields for the Charizard in the back. Now I'm going to go for Sludge number 2. Is this enough to pick up the knockout on the bulky Lantern? We're about to find out. It's actually not, but can we get the full farm down? No, not before the opponent makes it to 1 final Surf. I know I can live this, so I will just let this go and now look for the full farm down, but the opponent instead pivots into their Ember Charizard in the back. So once again, looking to be in a great position. We grab that shield with the Sludge, and now in comes Shadow Charizard. Charizard will just commit the shield on the Air Cutter because I know I will be able to outpace the opponent. I can just now go for the Air Cutter. If the opponent commits the shield, I'm just going to commit the shield right back, but no, they're going to let that go, and that actually puts me in a pretty awkward position because they actually lived that more comfortably than I would have expected. And now I need to look for the full Dragon Breath farm down. Can I get it? No. The opponent makes it to 1 final Air Cutter, and they did get the boost, which means I think, yeah, that's going to be enough to pick up the knockout on the Charizard. We lose all of that energy. Back in comes the THIEVUL, but the Furret was pretty much dry on energy, so I will just go for the Night Slash. I end up going for the catch on my Swalot, and we do get the prediction of when my opponent was going to throw. We get the catch. That is absolutely massive. Can we outpace the opponent? Yes, we can. Making it to the Night Slash. Night Slash from this range will be enough to pick up the knockout on the Furret. Everything else they have remaining is at 1 HP. We get the farm down of the Lantern and the Charizard, and we are able to take that win. And yeah, that's all the battles right there. So I know I've already showcased this team on this channel, and the reason I just had to showcase it again was because the 3 of these Pokemon together on a team have worked incredibly well for me. The hardest Pokemon for this team to see is by far the Togekiss, but as you've seen in the match, we worked around several of them, and it has brought me all the way. I believe I'm currently sitting at 2650, which I mean I was at earlier this season, but I fell a bit, got a little bit back, so hopefully I can continue this climb. Maybe I'll look at a different team for the next video, or maybe look at some potential submissions for this channel if there are any. But yeah, that's going to be it for me from this video. I want to say thank you to the expert trainer members on this channel: Benny Hemlock, Dr. Reed Mustache, Soham Patil, Eliana, Perry G, Blue Nation, Peter Rushworth, Alright 504, Chompus Clips, and Sons of Code, as well as an extra special thank you to the legend trainer members on this channel: Andrew Pitton, Musichu, Noodleman, Speedster, Estros, Fast Eddie Boss, and CD Slaskas. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, peace!